Welcome and everyone to HogvilleNET Hoops. I'm your host, Kevin McPherson. It is Monday morning, and what a lovely Monday it is. Welcome in everyone to it's still early signing period fever. If you weren't already feeling it in Arkansas, wrapping up the two committed players on the first day of the early period, technically getting it done. It's only a week long. That was Wednesday, November 12th. And here we are just, 2 days away from the end of this week long period. If you don't get it done early, you got to wait several more months until April, the spring period. And Arkansas is hopeful it'll add a third player in this early signing period. We know who it is. Class of 2026 National Top 10, 5-star, 6'10" combo forward out of Blake High School in Silver Springs, Maryland. That's Baba Oladotun. The comparisons have been made to the Durantula, Kevin Durant. They used to call him a unicorn. Jabari Smith, maybe a more current player that's played in the SEC, that 6'10 guard skill, 3-4 combo at the college level. Hell, Durant and Jabari Smith, that's what they guard at the NBA level for the most part, are threes and fours. Sometimes they have to stay in front of a two for a little bit, but I always look at a player positionally as who can you guard, and I think at the college level, certainly Baba Oladotun, and if he's in Arkansas system, will be defending threes and fours for the most part, even if that's small ball fours or traditional fours. Some, again, wings. He'll play on the perimeter offensively a lot. He's got a ton of guard skill. When you look at his shot creation, he can get it at all three levels. We're going to see some highlights, by the way. I'm going to go through recruiting today. That's going to be the main focus. In fact, it's going to be 90% of the focus. We're going to wrap up with some Pro Hog stuff because the Pro Hogs are really getting it done and playing well lately, especially last night, Sunday night. So let's get to it. Let's not waste any time because we do have new intel for you. Part of it I put out on my social media on Twitter earlier today. So if you saw it, it's not going to feel like new intel. And it's just incremental information about the Wednesday commitment announcement of Baba Oladotun. Remember, he's down to Arkansas, Kentucky, Maryland, and Georgetown. Based on everything I've heard in the last week, some of it we've talked about, it feels like Maryland is the biggest threat to Arkansas, who I've said for a while I feel like has been in the lead. When we go back in time and some of the intel I brought, some of that was just based on when I brought you intel that Calipari had backed away all of a sudden uh, from the Ratliff twins. And one of the Ratliff twins is more of a five, the other one more of a stretch four or 3-4 combo, perimeter 3-point shot taker, backed away completely after the big rush to recruit him, send a bunch of the staff out multiple times, and then offer them a scholarship. And you back away from the other player that you had worked on getting in for a visit, decided nope, another front line, a four. And then you started to see the situation with Erfan Diane drift apart with Arkansas. So I was already starting to get the vibes that Arkansas is the leader here prior to the late October official visit of Baba Oladotun to Fayetteville in Arkansas. And then about a day or two prior to that visit, I brought you source intel. I had a source tell me Calipari in Arkansas, that's the team to beat before he ever arrived on campus. So it already started reinforcing what I'd been saying for a while, that I think Arkansas is probably in the lead here. Now I had that source telling me that. Then the visit was incredible, right? They all have been. The NIL offer has been strong. Calipari's selling point, not only his track record, and just look at what I've done and what my players are doing in the NBA. Keep an eye on what my freshmen are about to do as we get our season underway. And you can look at that now. The receipts are already in. Your freshmen get to play heavy minutes. Your top level guys, even your third freshman that you brought in has played in every game. But the top two guys are your top two guys in about every category. But during the visit, before all that started playing out, they got to see firsthand in an exhibition game against Cincinnati that very thing on the visit before it officially started playing out when early November rolled into your regular season. So everything just snowballing for Arkansas. Then I had a second source, and I came on and told everybody this, shared this source information with you as well, that said, yeah, going beyond Arkansas is the team to beat. He said, Calipari's got this done. Calipari's got this done, and this is going to happen earlier in the early period. Remember, Dad was telling me we might take other visits. One was to an SEC school. I couldn't tell you more because the dad wanted to wait until they were ready to put it out for the name of the school to come out, so I gave you that much. And then eventually I was able to share that with you, and they put their Final Four out on the same day that Calipari, after their official visit about a week later, was off to see him in Maryland again, I think at least the third time, maybe the fourth, off-campus visit for Calipari to see him. And on the same day, they dropped that Final Four again of Arkansas, Kentucky, Maryland, and Georgetown. But that second source saying, "Look, this is done as far as he's concerned, and that it's going to get done early." Well, sure, the announcement came out; it is getting done early. So part of the information is already correct. The other part I pushed back on at the time I got it. I said, "So are you telling me that you know either directly from the family, the dad, somebody that you've talked to, or from Arkansas's coaching staff directly, that there is a private and silent commit, and that's why you think it's done?" And he couldn't go that far. He says, "No, I don't have that. I'm just told that it is from someone who's getting it from one of those two camps." Okay. So we've had to say full disclosure that we can't full in full throated effort say Arkansas's absolutely got a private or silent commit. But I don't know what else needs to be said. I'm still, on a scale of 1 to 10 confidence level, I've been between a 7.5 and an 8.5 recently, and I'm still at the 8, which was the last time I was on and said, only because the last source information I brought you after that really strong, uh, you know, uh, uh, voice saying it, Calipari's gotten this wrapped up. The next one said Maryland I think it was around the time Calipari was on campus, or excuse me, off to see him off campus, and that Final Four list came out. I think it was right around that time. The last source that weighed in said that Maryland had upped its NIL package, and I couldn't say whether or not Arkansas had countered or needed to counter because I wasn't sure. Did Maryland surpass Arkansas, pull up even? It's closer to home. It's one of the schools that some of the national folks think could win this here in the end, and feel like some might even feel like they're in the lead. I'm not sure minute to minute what all these guys are saying, but very recently, even if there's a lot of momentum for Arkansas, it seems like Maryland is right there. And based on the source telling me that Maryland upped its NIL, I'm always leery of that being enough, uh, to swing the final vote, in the final hour, in favor of that school. And so, with all the track record that Calipari brings to the table, his vision for how he can help the player and how he's going to use them, and how his freshmen thrive, and then they thrive when after they get drafted, they thrive in the NBA. All that, there are still elements about family and that home feeling, being part of something beyond just the pro stuff. The dad's mentioned that to me before. We've talked about it on here. And those coaching staffs at Maryland and even Georgetown, that's in the backyard. You don't think they can't sell family atmosphere? Of course they can. But so is Arkansas. And so the latest intel, it's a couple of things. One is not only do we know that the announcement date for Baba Oladotun is Wednesday the 19th, so in a couple of days. That's the final day of the early period. But I put it out on Twitter today. His announcement will be made at between 7 and 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. And so for most Hog fans being in the central time zone, that's 6 to 7, somewhere between 6 and 7 p.m. Central time zone, 7 to 8 Eastern. And the dad also told me, this is not in the tweet, they are likely, and here it is, I'll just bring up the tweet. We can do that. We have the technology now. What's not included in here is how can you view this? And the dad's told me that they're still working on a live stream, but it very likely could be Baba's. He has his own YouTube channel, so it might be via Baba Oladotun YouTube channel. A lot of kids will do it on their Instagram live. Go live on their Instagram account. That's how Abdu Torre did it. Uh, there's more than one way to do it. JJ Andrews, I don't know if anybody else live streamed it, but I did here on HogvilleNET Hoops. You can go check that out. It's archived. I did a 3-minute interview with him right after he made his signing on Wednesday of last week, and you can go check that out if you haven't seen it already either. Really good stuff in that 3-minute interview here on HogvilleNET Hoops. But there it is. You see the misspelling of commitment. There are 2 M's here, 3 total in the word. I was in a bit of a rush this morning when we put that out really early. But Dad says, yeah, we're going to figure out how we're going to live stream it. So I'll bring that information as soon as I know as well, and I'll add it to a comment to the bottom of this segment later once this segment's been published, if it comes out at some point soon. But either way, Arkansas is about to find out. I'm still on an 8 on a scale of 1 to 10 in confidence level that he's going to commit to Arkansas. I do think Maryland's probably the team that's first runner up. And because they've increased the NIL offer, that does leave a little bit of concern for me, even though I trust my source that says this is happening for Arkansas. But things can change in recruiting even in the final hour. I wouldn't be surprised if he's already signed his paperwork and it's already been sent to the NCAA clearinghouse, and it's just a performative ceremony, and Arkansas is just waiting to put it out. Which, if it's Arkansas, that's might be how they do it. They didn't do that with Abdou Toure. His signing ceremony was actually on Saturday, November 15th, just a couple of days ago. But Arkansas put out his announcement that they signed him on Wednesday. And they couldn't do that unless he'd sent in the paperwork and had been sent through and approved by the NCAA clearinghouse, which can happen pretty quickly once you get the paperwork back in at the university. So both he and JJ were formally announced on Wednesday. JJ's signing ceremony was on Wednesday, but I bet his was done after midnight and already cleared through the clearinghouse, because pretty quickly after he had his ceremony, the university released its announcement. And I didn't see anybody running paperwork frantically from the signing table back to a fax machine. I'm not saying it didn't happen that way. I think his was already done as well. There's nothing wrong with that. The ceremonies are great, man. All right, so I'm still an 8 on a scale of 1 to 10. I think this young man's going to be an Arkansas Razorback. It's a top 5 ranked class as it stands. Add Baba Oladotun. It's got another argument, just like last year's class does, as the number 1 recruiting class on the high school level in the country. And that's not something that John Calipari's not accustomed to in all his years as the best recruiter in the game. But Oladotun, we've talked so much about him. What makes him special? And I think a potential top 3 pick, if he were to be, let's say he's good enough to be a one and done, which would put him in the 2027 class, same as J.J. Andrews potentially is a one and done, or Abdou Toure is a potential one and done. But what makes Oladotun so special is at 6'10" and maybe still growing. I remember he's reclassed. He was the former number 1 player in 2027. But what makes him so special are the guard skills and the ball handling craft to get into his shot game. Beyond the arc in the mid range, he can obviously get and finish above the rim. We click off of this tweet as we do that, and you can see in the photo I have above, yeah, he can get to the rim. I mean, look at the arm length and the wingspan, the length of his legs. I mean, this dude's just long everywhere, probably still growing. And so at 6'10", where can he go from there? I don't know, but he's got guard skills for sure offensively. And that's what's going to make him a real perimeter threat on the offensive end at the college level, wherever that is. I think it'll be at Arkansas. But let's just take a look at his highlights from the Formula Zero, an elite camp, Dame Lillard's elite camp. Other Arkansas recruits have played in that, including J.J. Andrews in the past. But let's take a look at Baba here. Here he is warming up. Here he goes with the crowd. Just a little drive his man down, pull up midi, shoot over his man on the perimeter from 3. A lot of hezzy stop and go, hezzy moves and then get to his spot for 3. Catch and shoot 3. Catch, and then what? So what he's doing here, what he's obviously doing here is, when you see the dribble drive stuff, he's sizing up the opportunity to drive or shoot. But in most of those, if you're really paying attention, I don't think he really wants to drive. I think he's just moving the defender and creating a little more space to get the shot off. Now, he can shoot over defenders, but he's showing a little bit everything because he understands as he continues to level up and go through the high major leagues and then to the NBA, the defenders will be bigger, quicker, more athletic than anything he's seeing right now. And so he's showing you all the sauce here as an elite shot creator from distance. Now, defensively, I think you can see a defensive play here. Good block. Loose ball. There's not a whole lot of effort in some of this stuff from a lot of the defenders and what have you, but he gets out and runs and gets the alley-oop pass. So you get the picture here. Baba Oladotun, a lot of dribble craft to set up his shot. You know, one dribble step right. Most of that stuff was on the right side. He's right-handed. When you with lefties, you see a lot of the work going to the left. That's just how it is. But Baba Oladotun, a special offensive talent, and you can understand why Arkansas has prioritized him again. Calipari putting eyes on him well before he had reclassed, with the idea that he would reclass, and I think that also gave Calipari an advantage in this recruitment. All right, let's move on and talk more. How about J.J. Andrews? We said it. He signed recently, but he also had two monster performances to begin his regular season, Thursday night and then on Saturday. I was courtside for both in his high school arena just down the road from where I live. I mean, literally 3 miles right down Cantrell / Highway 10. And wow, I don't know what else to say other than wow. Game one and a 5-point loss to 6A North Little Rock. Just an incredible game, 78-73. 32 points, 22 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals, 3 blocks. And it was not an efficient night for JJ. He struggled a little bit with his shot at the foul line. He shot 20 plus free throws. He did great work. I mean, this is one of the best blue collar players I've ever seen for a 5-star. And he's so blue collar. It's the effort is unreal. I don't think I've ever seen a player with the motor, effort, and desire to win plays string so much of that together from the start of a game to the end, like J.J. Andrews. I mean, it's just playing what he does in terms of motor, blue collar effort, and determination to win plays. That is a skill. We talk about ball skill all the time. We talk about certain things, but that combination of factors is a skill, and he's arguably the best I've ever seen do it at any level. It's insane. And it's why at halftime against North Little Rock, this is a 6A school with really good players. We're about to talk about one of them who might be the new sheriff in town. Really important we get to that. But JJ, 26 points and 16 rebounds at halftime. Now, he sat parts of the third quarter and still ended up with 32 points, 22 rebounds. Again, four assists, 4 steals, and 3 blocks. And he turns around in a 91-47 win over defending 5A state champ Benton on Saturday. Was efficient as hell from everywhere, but only played 3 quarters in that big blowout win in 29 points, 18 rebounds, 8 assists, and just, again, stuff in the stat sheet. 3 blocks again. Had a steal. And so J.J. Andrews, when you look at the 2 games, averaging 30.5 points, 20 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 blocks, and 2.5 steals. It's just crazy how relentless he is. And just for example, when he drives the basketball, if he doesn't finish the first time, he's going back up and working on a putback. If he misses the putback, he's back off the ground really quickly and tipping the ball in or getting a second shot at it. It's how he accumulates the stats. But the motor just never stops, and he doesn't complain about contact. He doesn't, there's not bad body language if something doesn't go his way. He just keeps playing, and not only is he playing, not only is he playing hard in the effort and the motor, but it's smart. It's not to say he doesn't pick up fouls and make mistakes, but he's also not just wild out there thinking, okay, well, I've got all these physical and athletic advantages, but I really don't know how to use them. No, he knows how to use them and put them to good use. But again, the most extraordinary effort player I think I've ever witnessed. And that's saying a lot. I've seen some really big effort guys. One thing about JJ, and we're going to go through the highlights here, that probably helps him, one thing, and let's hit these highlights to explain it, is this. All right, so he was pretty efficient during the 4 sessions of the Nike EYBL shooting from 3 on low volume, around a 40% 3-point shooter. Low, very modest volume. The strength of his game is slash, clash, and cash. I say it all the time. But as he continues to level up, there's a lot of value into being efficient 3-point shooting, being offering yourself as a 3-and-D wing kind of guy. I think that's where he'll fit at the NBA level eventually. But knocking down those shots, but I'm going to tell you why, because here's the second highlight. It's very similar, but not. He just brings up and gets to the same spot, and then he gets into his drunk game. Nice little drive into the paint. Didn't get all the way to the rim. Nice little touch on that little double clutch in the paint with his lefty finish. He's a lefty. But the more that he can do this, the guy's playing off of him. No one's really able to get a hand up. Everybody's playing him for the drive. The more he can do that, the further he progresses in the game of basketball, high major level at Arkansas, then the NBA level eventually. Being able to knock down that 3-point shot opens things up for him and is going to help open up that drive game for him, because defenders are going to have to respect that shot. And so, again, it's good to see JJ. I have a lot of highlights that, for whatever reason, Twitter only allowed me to download some. These are all my videos that I took. So only allowed me to download some of them. Those were a couple that I was able to get. And those two were from the Thursday night game and the loss to North Little Rock. Those were against the Charging Wildcats. Speaking of which, one of the new sheriffs in town, and I want to get to it right now, is Elijah Bryant. And I talked about him as a true freshman starting for North Little Rock. A 6A school, the toughest league in the state, regardless of classification, the 6A Central, and a proud, storied program with a lot of great players that have come through there. Just in recent, looking at the past decade, guys like Kevon Allen, who went to have been an all SEC performer at Florida, Anton Beard, who was a starter at Arkansas and helped the Razorbacks to 3 NCAA tournaments in his 4 years there. You look at Moses Moody, who won a state title and was MVP of the state title game, going head-to-head against Isaiah Joe and Jalen Williams back in the day before spending his last 2 years, junior and senior season, at Montverde Academy. He played at North Little Rock. So, there's a history here. The next just might be Elijah Bryant, class of 2028, 6'2" guard, insane wingspan. I'm going to guess 6'10" wingspan, 6'9", 6'10". It's unreal. I may be off a little bit there. I don't know how much by. He's athletic. He's not a quick twitch, but he is smooth. He's a smooth operator. He's got good athleticism, if not really good athleticism. I'm not ready to say elite, but he's got good athleticism. He can get off the floor, but he's got that wingspan that makes it feel like elite athleticism when you combine his hops and his ability to just go get that rebound or whatever it is he's trying to do. But man, the shot is as good as I've seen since Isaiah Joe. There is no towing the line on a 3-point shot. There is no spot that he's not comfortable. He's a logo 3 shooter. It is a quick release. It is effortless. It looks like it's going in every time. And make or miss, his coaches are on the sideline clapping with smiles on their face. There are no don't. Oh, great. Glad you did. Or bringing you over to the sideline. Maybe that wasn't the best shot. No. There is a green light for this young man. He takes good shots. But going head-to-head with JJ, I told you what the stat line was for JJ in that loss for Little Rock Christian Academy. So North Little Rock wins, and the best play on the floor that night was Elijah Bryant, the sophomore guard against class of 2028. Recruitment's been a little bit quiet. I'll help explain that here. But a game-high 34 points. He shot, I think, 48% overall from the field, 5 of 11 from 3, so he was 45.5% from 3. And I'm going to show you some highlights here to give you an idea of just what this looks like, because it looks really good. And 10 rebounds, so he had a double-double as well. 10 boards, 3 steals, and 3 blocks. And he was getting deflections all night long because of his defensive instincts. A lot of his rebounds and at least one steal, at least one block were down the stretch of this game when it was a one-possession game and going back and forth between both teams. And he just made huge plays at both ends to close that game out, stepping up to the free throw line to ice it with free throws. I mean, Elijah Bryant was not just – the house was packed. It's an arena, a good-sized arena at Little Rock Christian Academy. It's not that old, just a handful of seasons old, 5 or 6 years old. Place was packed, and this was the primetime game. And it was a lot of oohs and ahs with Elijah Bryant through the night. And there were a few times there were gasps. The highlights I'm going to show you are the three-point shots. Again, Twitter, for whatever reason, is limiting what I can download of my own videos that I put out. But what's interesting is what I can't show you are the mid-range shots, where they're probably more impressive. It is insane how he gets to spots, and even when a defender's draped on him, he creates separation with a slight fade, but he's not off balance. And it's pro level craft. I mean, it's really smooth. That arm length makes it already hard to defend the shot when he gets into the shot motion, but then that slight little fade makes it impossible. J.J. Andrews did block him once, by the way, on one of those. But he got some and ones off of him, and there was one in the second half in crunch time where he was on the baseline, and he was about 14 feet away from the basket. He had a defender in front of him. He was running out of space to try to drive baseline, and so help was coming. And instead of trying to split the help, he faded. He did a little pivot turn move and faded to from a position of 14 feet away from the basket to about 16 or 17 feet. And on that fade, he pulled the trigger, and it was just nothing but net. And I'm telling you, it was NBA level craft, and the arena was stunned. I mean, you talk about gasps. It was like, oh, I mean, it's a savvy basketball culture in Central Arkansas. It just is. And I'm honored to be a part of it and get to go to these games and see this kind of stuff, because when you see it and you know it. And I talked to his dad. I talked to Elijah's dad after that game, and I'm like, man, what's going on in recruiting? He goes, Kevin, he's got a chip on his shoulder. It's been quiet for a while. He goes, you pumped him up last year. And in truth, as a freshman, I mean, a ninth grader starting for North Little Rock, that's a big deal. And I saw his range, and I saw the oozing with talent, but he was deferred a lot to a veteran team. And he made a lot of good basketball plays, but he didn't really take games over like I felt like he was capable of. He's doing that now as a sophomore. This is his team. And his dad said, yeah. And I said, so Arkansas, you haven't heard from Arkansas in a while? And he goes, we haven't heard from him. I'm like, that's not going to be, that will not be the case in the next several hours. By tomorrow, that will be a different dynamic. And that's exactly how it played out. My phone was getting blown up by all kinds of coaching staffs, including the Razorbacks. Multiple coaches on the staff involved now. Arkansas on the phone with Elijah Bryant on Friday morning, the day after. We'll see when and if an offer comes down the pike, but Missouri already reached out on Friday morning as well. Arkansas State, UCA. But just the plays, man. It's not just the scoring. 10 rebounds from the guard spot, and some of them big at the end of the game. One where he snagged a defensive rebound in the second half, brought it up, went coast to coast, sized up the defender in front of him, and pulled a 28-footer, nothing but net. I don't have that in the highlight here. All these crafty mid-range shots that he just consistently hit. This was an efficient 34 points. It just was, bottom line. This is a gifted player. I think there's a lot of offers that are going to start outside of all this interest that's pouring in. At some point, it's going to be offers. Now, he's got to be consistent, but he worked throughout the weekend. I mean, he was in the gym consistently. I'm going to show you a highlight from Sunday that his dad sent me. But let's start with the first highlight. This is over J.J. Andrews early in the game, and J.J.'s, I think, surprised that he's going to shoot this, because J.J.'s playing drive. He's a little far out on the court, not thinking a shot's going to go up. Appreciate the arm length here. 6'2", but he's got a strap, man. Look how smooth and effortless it was. JJ, let's look at the second one. Now, this is in the second half. And Elijah Bryant's going to work with a screen here. But what I find is interesting is he's got such a quick decision and release that neither the primary defender, which is JJ, or the help, which is another 6'5", 6'6" guy on the other side of the pick, trying to help, trying to show and pop out to help, because now they figured out this kid by that time. He had 20 points at halftime. So this is, I think, a third or fourth quarter shot here. I think it was third quarter. But here comes Bryant again. He's on the bounce. JJ's trying to guard against the pick. JJ this time tries to close on him, And the help defender, but it was too late. The decision was made. He stepped back, and it was just boom. And this is what he does. Here's what Dad sent me on Sunday. Now, Elijah was in the North Little Rock gym, and he sent me several videos of him running bleachers, out on the court, doing cardio, all kinds of stuff. I didn't bring all that. I'll just show you a couple of shots, just again, so you can feel this range and get a look at him. Just how, I mean, I've been to a lot of Isaiah Joe workouts where he's shooting from all these places, and it's the similar feel in terms of his body. There's a perfect line when you look at him from head to toe. There's nothing erratic about him getting into his shot. He's squared. It's smooth. He's locked in, and every shot looks like it's going in. Of course, those two did. We'll just do that one more time. I think we watched the other ones more than once. But this is just. And again, I wish I could show you the mid-range work because that's really where he excelled. In addition to the three-point shooting, and again, some of the defensive plays, some of the shots he blocked or the steals he got. He had a bunch of deflections that disrupted possessions where it wasn't necessarily a turnover or a steal. Really good basketball player. And so let's see where it goes. Anthony Sprat Jr. also able to see him, class of 2028 Arkansas offer. Unfortunately, he was on the wrong side of that blowout loss. By the way, J.J. Andrews' stats in that blowout win, I went through them, 29, 18, 8 assists, and 3 blocks, and a steal were in 3 quarters of play. That's how lopsided it was. Anthony Sprat Jr. in only 3 quarters of play, 15 points. Started the game out with a really nice 3-point shot. Did a lot of good stuff in this game, but when you lose a game like that, 15 points, 6 rebounds, and a block shot of his own in basically 3 quarters of play. His team was overwhelmed, but he actually showed well, I thought. Not his most efficient shooting night, but did a lot of stuff good enough for me to understand why Calipari has offered him. Unfortunately, when I put his highlights out again, Twitter didn't allow me to download one of those and bring them. Again, my own camera couldn't bring it, so can't figure out why Twitter will allow you to download some, but not most. And again, I'm not borrowing here. These are the videos that I took and published to my Twitter account. But anyway, Anthony Sprat Jr., another special talent in the class of 2028, already part of Team USA Junior National mini camp stuff, and drawing comparisons to Jason Tatum. We know that Duke's been looking at him, and he's taken an unofficial visit there. John Shire's was courtside to watch him during Nike EYBL 15U. By the way, Elijah Bryant and Anthony Sprat Jr. were on the same 15U team for Brad Bill Elite on Nike EYBL. They were the 2 leading scorers on that team after the first session of Nike EYBL in the spring. And then things changed for Elijah after a player that's similar positionally, a highly rated player out of the state of Missouri, which is where Brad Bill Elite is based out of, returned to the team, and it changed the dynamics in terms of the role for Bryant. So not exactly the kind of remainder of the season for him, the way that it started and the way that would have garnered him more recruiting attention in the spring and the summer. That's not excuse making. That's just a fact. And now the kid's got the reins. One of the top players in the state and one of the top players in the nation. I'm calling it. I called it on Twitter the other night. I could see it brewing last year. I just needed to see him decide that he's the man, and he's starting to do that. Now he's going to be consistent. He's putting in the work. We'll see what happens from here. But Anthony Sprat Jr., again, is no slouch, and good to see him play and play well as well over the weekend. All right, that's the recruiting part. Let's wrap up and get out of here by saluting some NBA Pro Hogs. Moses Moody, career high night last night, 32 points. That's a career high for him in a win over the New Orleans Pelicans in the starting lineup. But what's interesting is 21 points at the end of the first quarter, 7 of 8 from 3 at the time. Finished the game 8 of 12 from 3. That's also a career best. Already shooting a career high from percentage from 3 so far early in the season, around 45%, I think around 45% now on the season from 3. Was already averaging nearly 11.5 points per game prior to the 32-point game last night. But how about 21 points in a quarter? The last Pro Hog I remember doing that was Todd Day, originally drafted lottery pick, I think the 8th overall pick by the Milwaukee Bucks. They loved the Razorbacks. More Razorbacks have played for Milwaukee than any other organization. I can vouch for that. But Todd Day eventually ended up with traded to Boston, and as a Celtic, I think he had 20 plus points, 23 or 24 in one quarter, which at the time tied a franchise record, I believe. And we know Boston, arguably the most storied NBA franchise in history. Lakers are right there with them, but so I don't know that a Pro Hog has had 20 or more points in a quarter since then. I just know Moses Moody did it last night. So kudos to Moses for a career night and a career quarter. Already hard and helped, aided in as a rookie Golden State's last NBA title run. I mean, this young man, now, when you start thinking about how young he really still is, uh, and consider that he's in year 5 in the NBA. And he's not started every game this year, but he started last night, and it wasn't Steph Curry's night after a couple of 40 plus back-to-back 40 plus games. I think I think last night he might not have gotten into double digits, which is rare for him. But Moses Moody picked up the slack and a road win again. The Pelicans, yeah, but this is the NBA, man. That's impressive. How about Daniel Gafford last night? The Mavericks have been awful so far this year. He's a starter, but big night, a season high for him, 20 points, 6 of 8 from the field, 8 of 10 at the line. He is having a strong free throw shooting season for the first time in his career, really. We know he's one of the league leaders, if not the leader typically at the top in field goal percentage, because most of his work's around the rim. One of the best shot blockers in the league, but 20 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 blocks last night. And the Mavs with a home win. That was great to see, and it might have gone to overtime even, but I think it was a Portland Trailblazers maybe, but a big win for the Mavericks. And then you also had, in a great game for Gafford, you also had Anthony Black starting. He's on and off starter for Orlando Magic. Slow start to the season for the Magic. They've picked it up of late, started picking up some wins. But 18 points, he got a steal and a dunk to give the Magic a 2-point lead over one of the best teams in the NBA, the Houston Rockets. And it was a road game for Orlando. Unfortunately, Houston ends up tying the game in the final minute after AB put the Magic ahead. And then in overtime, Houston Rockets prevail on their home court. But AB finishes with 18 points, 4 assists, 3 rebounds. I think he had a couple of steals and a block. He always checks every box in the box score, it seems like. Always great impact at both ends, typically. And he's a double-figure scorer by average coming into that game, and it was one of his better games. Just recently had a 20-point game as well from the Magic. And so kudos to those guys. Jordan Walsh. I'm so used to saying Jordan Smith Jr. Jordan Walsh, third-year Pro Hog. We know Boston's depleted with injuries. Jason Tatum, the Achilles injury and out. I think that's right. Out for the year. So a lot of shuffling in the lineup. But he's not only getting rotation minutes, he's getting starts. He's been starting lately, and Boston's winning games. He's being lauded and applauded for his defensive work, his blue-collar work, all the things that made him good as a true freshman at Arkansas. And really his calling card was that defense. But last night, I think 6 points, 8 rebounds, 3 steals and a win. But that's what he's given them. Anywhere from 5 to 8 points per game, 6, 7, 8 rebounds per outing, multiple steals, multiple blocks in some games. He gets a few assists because he's making the right plays when the ball's moving to him and he moves it to an opportunity for someone else to score. But infusing that starting lineup, and it's helping Boston right now. So kudos to Jordan Walsh for making the most of his opportunities. It's the most we've been able to say about him so far when we talk Pro Hogs. And then Adu Thero making his NBA debut as well. 4 points, 1 of 1 from the field. It was a transition dunk. We know when he gets downhill, good luck challenging that. Made both of his free throw attempts, had a rebound in 5 minutes. Did a good job in a Lakers blowout, went on the road against the Milwaukee Bucks. But this is not a typical NBA debut, by the way, because he didn't play Summer League. He didn't play in the preseason. He's still been dealing with that knee and hadn't played in the regular season yet. So a lot of times when you see players and rookies that are second-round picks and they're not going to factor into the top rotation, the top 2 rotation, they may not make their regular season debut for a while, something like what happened. But you saw them in Summer League. You got to see the potential. Or in the exhibition season, while the starters are not playing as many minutes and you're giving everybody a shot. We didn't see him at all until this regular season debut. So that's really kind of cool for a Duthero. The same night, two-way player, former Hog in his year 3 now in the NBA, now with the Lakers on a two-way contract. Nick Smith Jr. also got a few minutes at the end of that game, 1 of 2 from three. Had a steal and an assist in his 3 minutes, so 3 points, a steal, an assist, and a box +2 for Nick Smith Jr., who, by the way, already has a 20-plus point game for the Lakers, and where he was in the top rotation on that night and actually helped save the bacon and win a game for the Lakers when all their main players were out. Big night for him, and I think he had a career high assist on that night as well, something like 25, 26 points and 6 or so assists, and really good game already for Nick Smith Jr. for the Lakers. And so, we didn't mention Bobby Portis. Career numbers down for him right now, but still one of the top reserves for the Milwaukee Bucks, who have fallen on hard times as of late, but still, I think, have a winning record or at least a break-even record early in the NBA season. But Bobby hovering around 10 points and 6 rebounds per game. The Pro Hog is strong, and it helps the recruiting, which has been strong. All right, just over 40 minutes in. Thank you for joining me on HogvilleNET Hoops. If you haven't done it already, please hit subscribe, like, and share. It helps us out. We appreciate it. Turn the notifications on. The next time we're on will be at least for a post game tomorrow, as the Razorbacks now 3-1 host 2-2 Winthrop out of the Big South Conference. Bud Walton Arena. I plan to be there. Whether I am or not, I will do a post game show. I doubt I'll do a pregame show. Not a lot to pregame there, other than Arkansas should get to 4-1. Never take any opponent lightly, especially after only a 4-point win over Samford. But I expect Arkansas to get business taken care of as they inch closer to that Thanksgiving Day, the following week matchup with Duke on national television on CBS. After Winthrop tonight, later in the week on Friday, you close the week out at home again at Bud Walton Arena against Jackson State, another team out of the SWAC. Arkansas is already 1-0 against the SWAC, having opened the season with a big 109-77 win over Southern. But we'll definitely, so post game tomorrow, and then on Wednesday, the Baba Oladotun decision again coming down between 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. Central Time. That's 7 and 8 Eastern Time, which matters because he's on the East Coast there in Maryland where it's getting done. So we mentioned that, and there are Hog fans everywhere, so that helps those on the East Coast. But we're going to do something. I don't know if I'm going to go live and do like a watch party or come on live immediately after he makes his announcement. Either way, we plan on going on. But until the next time, thanks for being here. Appreciate all of you. Be great in all of your endeavors. We'll see you soon.